Hey guys, Horror Man back for another review. So today we're going to take a look at the brand new Batman Adventures version of Catwoman. Now we did get a previous Catwoman figure and it was based off the animated series, so DC Collectibles went ahead and gave us a second version of the character. Now this version is much different than the animated series. She has this all black costume, kind of similar to Michelle Pfeiffer. And you can see she still comes with the cat Isis, and then you also get the whip accessory and some interchangeable hands, things like that. So the figure is clearly displayed in the blister card, and then the Catwoman names on the side here. You can see that she's got her own number, which looks like 39. And then on the back, it just has that new Batman Adventures logo, but the colors are kind of flipped, and you can see it different. The actual logo is right here on the back of the card. So pretty cool looking figure. Haven't really seen too many figures based off of this look, so I'm interested to see how this compares with the original release. So let's go ahead and take this out of the package and get a closer look. Okay, so as soon as you open up the actual packaging here, you can see that she's in her own shell along with Isis and the whip. But then if you pull out the secondary part of the packaging, here's all the different interchangeable hands, the display stand with the turnaround picture, and then there's also a little booklet in the back here. And just taking a look at the accessories, you're really only going to get the whip, but you do get the little cat Isis, which is always a welcome accessory, and the cat actually has little points of articulation as well. And then again, you do have different interchangeable hands. You have some gripping hands, some closed fists, and then you also have some kind of like relaxed hands, so she could just have like claw type of poses going on. And I really like the little turnaround picture here. They do this with all the different figure stands. So once you remove the actual turnaround plate in here, you can access two different booklets that are included, and they do this with all the different releases. So the first one is just going to be an updated list of some of the characters that have come out so far. Again, you can see that they have added the Batman Beyond logo to the newer booklet. Here's the Batwing, the Christmas with the Joker, Batman Beyond set, and then you have the Catwoman and Riddler from the new Batman Adventures, which the Riddler was actually just released as well. And then you have the Batman Expressions pack, which I've recently reviewed. And then the other booklet is basically just going to be a step-by-step instruction of how to assemble the stand and how to put the figure on it. There is a couple little line drawings of the Riddler and Catwoman in here, and those are just showing how you interchange the hands. And then on the back, again, it's just going to show you how to put your figure on the stand and how to assemble the stand itself. And you get a cool little picture of Poison Ivy. And I would definitely recommend saving these booklets. I mean, they are artwork, so eventually they could be worth something, of course, if you can, hold on to those. And assembling the stand's pretty easy. It's just 3 pieces. You get the, of course, the flat part. Then you get the little gripping arms here, and then you get the main pole that you'll put on the stand itself. Now there's a little bit of like a cutout, and you can see there's a bit of a squared off end on this little piece here, and then you'll just match that up, and then it'll just plug right in like that. And then you're just gonna put this shaft and attach it to this clamp, and then you could pull the clamp out in any way you want. Okay, and here's Catwoman with Isis out of the packaging. And for the most part, it looks pretty cool. I don't really like a lot of the new Batman Adventures lines. The character designs are kind of strange to me sometimes, but I feel like this Catwoman's pretty good. Her head's not like as big as some of the other ones are. And I really like the Isis. I think it's actually better than the first release they did. So let's get a close-up of the head sculpt. So taking a close-up of the head sculpt, she looks pretty good. I mean, the designs were very simplistic, but they were very nostalgic, especially at this point. Now you can see her skin tone has kind of got this like bluish tone to it, almost like a dead skin tone. But that is accurate to the cartoon from what I remember. Her ears are definitely bigger than what I was used to for a Catwoman figure. But again, she looks, you know, it's simplistic, but very cool. I mean, I don't see any real major paint flubs or anything. The teeth are nice and clean, along with the eyes. She's got this, like, kind of perky nose. So, again, I mean, for what it is, I think it looks pretty good. Looking at the rest of the body, again, it's, you know, pretty simplistic. Just have the black costume, and she's got the open hands with, you can kind of see kind of pointier fingers or gloves to simulate the cat claw. And then her feet are very, very small, so I definitely recommend putting this on the stand like I have it. Now, of course, you also get Isis, and again, I really think this is better than the original release that came with the animated version. I like the eyes better, and she's got that little red collar on here, which is a separate piece. And then she's got, you know, a little tail in the back here. But yeah, I think the eyes are really nicely done. They were definitely not the best on the original. I believe it's pretty much the same sculpt. We'll do a comparison later. But for the most part, I think they've really done a good job with this. Now, just going over the articulation on the Catwoman, you don't get a ton of motion, pretty much what we'd expect at this point. The head can turn pretty good on here, plenty of left to right. She could look down about that far and up. She really can't look up. She could look straight forward, but she just can't move her head up, unfortunately. She can angle the head a little bit, give you some kind of pivot. The arms can go out really far. She has a single hinged elbow. And then there's really good articulation on the hand. She can kind of, you know, cradle the wrist or move it in any kind of motion. And then you really do have plenty of motion in these arms. So good articulation there. Nothing in the waist. She can put her leg out about that far. Single hinge knee joint. She could do a perfect split. And then the feet move up and down really nice. And doesn't look like she has any kind of ankle pivot here, so just up and down. So a decent range of motion for a simplistic figure, and she can stand pretty well on her own. And going over the articulation on the Isis cat, the tail doesn't really move, but all the legs can go forward, and then the back legs can go pretty far back and pretty far forward. But the front legs can't really go back, but they can go forward pretty good. And then, of course, the head. The head's a little tight, but it can turn pretty good left to right. It really doesn't have much looking down movement. But yeah, at least it's articulated, so pretty good for something so small. Okay, so again, you're not really going to get a lot of accessories with this, but you will get plenty of interchangeable hands like usual. This hand is a bit of a, I guess, a bit of a gripping hand. It's a little bit more closed. Then you have a slightly more open gripping hand. And then you get the fisted hand. And then, of course, the one you see here is a fully relaxed hand. Now, interchanging these is pretty simple, but it is really small, so be careful. It's got this really long peg on here, pulls out very easily, and then you'll just insert the new peg into there. The only real accessory you're going to get for Catwoman is this whip, and I've got to say it is far better than the whip that we got with the original release, and it's got this really long rubbery feel to it, just like a rubber material, and then the end has these little pieces here, which is what would actually sting the victim. And it's very thick. It's much better than that original release. But yeah, you're definitely going to want to use the most open grip hand, and then you can just go ahead and put this into there. Now again, this is a really thick whip as opposed to the original release, so you'll have to kind of finagle this around and probably put the thinnest part in the hand first, and then just kind of pull it tighter to the end, and then she can hold this whip pretty good. And if you want, you can kind of wrap this around or do whatever you want with it. Alright, so here she is holding the whip, and I've actually changed out both hands to be the gripping hands so she can kind of wrap this whip around her body a little bit, and she's holding the end of it with that left hand. I know Michelle Pfeiffer kind of did that pose. So yeah, you can hold this whip very well. So I'm very happy with this accessory. Even though we didn't get a lot, this whip was definitely done better this time around. And for the first comparison, here she is next to the animated series Catwoman, and you can see a huge difference between the design here. Obviously the head sculpts are much different, and I definitely like the animated series look better, but this overall figure has some things about it I like more. I feel like the paint apps, even though they're very simplistic, they definitely were done better, and the figure in general stands much better. Like, this Catwoman really has a hard time standing on her own. And then you can see the whip is really kind of thin and just kind of falls out. Whereas this newer one is a much better whip, and she has a much more firm grip on it. So I like them both. I think they're both worth picking up, but you know, there's a couple things I do like about this new version better. And here she is next to a couple animated series characters, and you can see there's again a little bit different size. And here she is next to some of the new Adventures figures, and you can see there's definitely a difference in the head sculpt size, but these do stack up pretty well next to each other. And here she is next to the Marvel Legends Spider-Gwen. And here she is next to the 7-inch scale NECA Toys Sarah Connor. And for the last comparison, here is the two Isis cats next to each other, and you can see the paint apps are much better on the newer version, and they added a collar on here. Alright, so that's my review. All in all, I think this is a really cool figure. If you're a fan of the new Adventures, or just a Catwoman fan in general, you're definitely going to want to pick this up. It's much different than the animated series, so I'm definitely glad they made this. Definitely warranted a new figure to be made, because the costume is just completely different. I still like the original better in terms, just because I think the nostalgia of the animated series is a little bit better than the new Adventures. But this actual figure, just as a figure in general, I think it's better made, and I'm glad they didn't go with the ankle articulation, just because the feet are so small, and the original release of Catwoman had a lot of breakage issues. And I think the paint apps are better on this. My original animated series figure definitely has some bad paint issues. Not horrible, but there's a couple spots that are just really bad. So, you know, I think this is just a step below the animated series figure, but I still think it's a great figure. And the actual Isis cat is definitely better than the original, so just that alone, the accessories are maybe just a tiny bit better. The original animated series, you know, if you want, you can switch out the accessories, but she didn't really get much, just a necklace and a little binoculars camera thing. So, thanks for watching my review. Please subscribe, leave a comment, question if you have one, like the video, and until next time, guys, see ya.